Thank you, Chair. There was a poll published the other day, Minister, by Ireland Thinks in association with the Sunday Independent, which asked people which of the following two issues should be the most important priorities to deal with. There was a long list of answers, but leading the way by far as the most popular two responses were the cost of living and housing. Instead of really getting to grips with them, the government are wasting energy pursuing a climate change agenda at a rate of knots, with little regard for the costs, to appease a party that is now languishing at 3% in the opinion polls. There is no significant demand for the government's climate policies at this emergency pace, but there is significant demand for the housing issue to be sorted out, but it seems only at a snail's pace. To be fair, not all of the problems associated with housing can be blamed on the government, but the government must ensure that it is controlling the controllables. We in this House are legislators. We make rules and regulations which govern people's behaviour in Ireland. So I don't expect the government to be able to solve problems with global supply chains, for example, but I do expect the government to ensure that the conditions are suitable in Ireland to allow a thriving building sector and stimulate the construction of housing. All of those rules and regulations governing the sector are choices made by government. The consequences of these choices have been stark for the people looking to get a house of their own. Over the last 10 years, successive governments have consistently placed barriers in the way of houses being built, and these barriers have all contributed to the current problematic housing situation. Barriers have been placed in the way of builders who want to build the houses and in the way of the people who want to buy the houses. I'm getting fed up of pointing out that the problem of housing being unaffordable will not be improved unless something is done to enable the average builder to build a house with less state-imposed cost barriers in their way. The state-imposed cost barriers include things such as state bodies like On Board Pleanála, the Office of the Planning Regulator, advising on minimum densities being imputed into county development plans that don't exist in law, and more often than not resulting in judicial review being taken when minimum densities are stipulated as part of the grant of planning. Minimum densities are often the reason developments don't go ahead. Unnecessarily onerous and costly conditions to be met before permission is given for developments, and then dezoning of lands, all serve to reduce the amount of houses being built. The social contract is broken for people in their 20s, 30s, and I'd say now more often in their 40s. People working as a Garda, or as a nurse, or as a teacher, or any of those traditionally regarded as good, steady government jobs cannot afford to buy a home. Over the last 10 to 15 years, government departments have also made it more difficult for certain employees to be considered permanent, again harming their chances of qualifying for a mortgage. And I know of a couple in their mid to late 20s in County Wexford who have a combined gross income of approximately €85,000 per annum and have combined savings of almost 3 times the required deposit. Yet they cannot qualify for a mortgage due to the nature of their employment contracts. Both of these people have displayed an ability to manage money, are debt-free, work hard, are well-educated, and for all intents and purposes are a safe bet for a mortgage point of view. Yet government-imposed rules mean that 2 people cannot get on the housing ladder. Living with parents is the best possible scenario for thousands of people in situations like this, and for many it's extortionate rents or homelessness. We need to examine where the social contract fell apart and start repairing it. Forcing a building contractor to build a certain amount of affordable homes in their development will not solve that problem. A first-time buyer has enough on his or her plate without their local county council competing with them to buy a house, thus also driving up the price in the process. If this government is really committed to ensuring affordable houses are built, then it's time the government looked at their tax take on the new homes. Government could take less than the current 13% VAT rate. You could follow in the steps of our neighbours in the UK and in the North. If you're serious about providing affordable homes, that is, and reduce your tax take to 0, because there's no reason why you can't. Affordability is what a potential buyer can afford to pay for a house. Given the constraints imposed by the central bank's mortgage lending rules, reducing VAT to zero is the only measure that will put a new home in reach of my couple in Wexford earning €85,000. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Murphy.